Hi, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Yacht Crew Vlogs right here on Yachting International Radio. My name is Ria. I am your host, and today I am pleased to introduce Robert Munns from the Oceans of Hope UK Foundation. How are you?
I'm very, very well, Ryan. Thank you for having me on.
No, thank you so much for coming on because you were actually brought to my attention by Paul over at the New Zealand Sailing Trust. The two of you do some absolutely amazing things together in New Zealand. But before we get there, I want to find out a little bit about you and your journey to Oceans of Hope and what it's all about.
That's a very good question, and hopefully the viewers will stick around for the whole answer.
I'm sure they will.
My name's Robert. I'm a skipper. I've spent about 15 years floating around the Mediterranean, quite a lot, and I have a stupid disease called multiple sclerosis. I have like the man flu version, which means I have issues with fatigue. I have issues with balance sometimes, which isn't very good. Sometimes on the boat, but that's my main issues. I've had them for a long time, and I have this opportunity to help people with this disease that are maybe worse off than me. I Because I have the ability to do all of this, and I love being out on the water. I was brought up as a child on the water. I left for about 20 years, but now I'm back on the water full time. And what I want to do is give people with this disease that are worse off than me the opportunity to realize that it's fantastic to be out on the water. It's fantastic to be out of your comfort zone. And it's fantastic to have the opportunity to push yourself more so than if you naturally would in your own life. And being on a boat, as we all know, being on a boat is being part of a crew, being part of a team, being part of an opportunity to move something from A to B together. When people with MS, sometimes they become more isolated than the average Joe because they don't feel, sorry, we don't feel that we are worthy to be part of that team. We are capable of contributing as much as we used to. But putting people on a boat with MS, you realize that they are, and they are, and they are. And it's amazing to watch people realize that they are worthy, they are good enough, and they are magnificent. Their old magnificence comes back. And I think that's really important that is mind, is that we get back and um, try and sort of change people's perception of the disease within themselves first. I'm very much for trying to change perceptions on a larger scale, like you, but I really find it really rewarding, and I find it even more powerful that we change the perception within the self through sailing.
Let me ask you when your journey began with the Oceans of Hope.org. Actually, it's originally a Danish foundation. When did your journey begin?
So the original foundation, Oceans of Hope, which was then called Sailing Sclerosis, they were organising a round the world sail on an old challenge boat, which was part of the, I think it was the Whitbread Challenge series of 1996 or 97. And they were planning a sail around the world for people with MS. Now, I'd been diagnosed in 2008, and I'd been working for 6 years since then. I bumped into them by coincidence while I was at work, and it kind of made me click. It made me make a conscious decision that retrospectively I didn't know that I had not been doing for the previous 6 years. So I decided to bring him back and said, "Hey, Mikkel," which was his name, who's a doctor from Denmark who specialises in dealing with people with MS. I called him up and confessed my sins almost, which was, "Mikkel, I love what you're doing. By the way, I have MS and I want to be involved. And so that was in the spring of 2014. And I ended up applying to be part of the circumnavigation and was lucky enough to be given the opportunity to sail from the Galapagos Islands to Tahiti in the spring of 2015.
What realization did that give to you? Because when we were talking prior, you mentioned that you had sort of lost yourself after the diagnosis. You had sort of lost your joy for life, the person that you were. How did that change you once you got back on and started sailing again?
Well, it's a huge thing. Now, as people can see, I'm pretty mobile, and I can walk, talk, sing, play golf, and sail. Um, when I was on the boat with 6 other people with MS, all of them were worse off than me. Speech issues, movement issues, balance issues, as well as having 5 different nationalities where we couldn't not directly, but easily communicate. Um, but I realized that during that 5 weeks that we were on board together, we became a team, and I became the joker, but the one that people relied on. And I did my piece of the teamwork. But I realized that I'd not been doing that for the previous 6 years in life. I'd not committed to relationships, work, life, my family. I'd realized that I'd been 80% of myself, and I'm lucky. I'm a lucky one. There's people that can't walk. There's people that can't speak properly. There's people that can't stand up properly, or people that just can't get out of bed because of the fatigue. And what goes with MS is depression. And maybe I'd been depressed. Maybe I'd just, I was hit a bit hard by it. But there was these other people, these other 6 people that were like, so what? Let's get on with it. And I realized that my perspective on the disease was a bit corrupt. And so I decided to make a change, but that was only brought about by being on a boat with people with MS, where I could talk and listen and learn about the possibilities. And they gave me so many more possibilities.
Well, when you came off that trip, you were asked to speak in front of a group of people in regards to your experience. Tell me that story.
Okay, well, on the back of that summer, I kind of decided that I was going to do something, which was take more people with MS sailing. And that was it. And I got this idea, but it was the old Robert that was deciding this. This was the old Robert that just went, yeah, I'll do it. We can do this. What's the problem? We'll do it. And I was quite happy with that. And it was like there was a commitment here, but there was not a real commitment. And I gave this talk to armed forces group of MS people from the UK, and there was about 100 there and their families. And I all I did was show them lots of beautiful pictures, with blue skies and desert islands and dolphins in the sea, and just to entertain people, really. And my important issue for that evening was, it was really important. My issue then was to present, all I wanted to do was catch a fish, kill a fish, and cook a fish, climb up the mast, and learn how to use a sextant, because I'm a yacht master offshore, but I wanted to do my ocean master. I did none of that. I did no physical challenges apart from sail the boat. What happened was an odyssey here. And kind of that developed because as a result of that talk, a lady my kind of age came up to me afterwards, and she was crying, and she was saying, whatever you said has changed my husband. And I was like, okay. She's crying, which makes me cry. And she says, well, come and meet him. And literally he was over the other side of the room, and I could see him already. This guy in a wheelchair, big guy, my age, but he was beaten. If I may get closer to the camera, he was beaten. And I could see it from a way off. And as a man, he was beaten here, he was beaten here, and he was beaten there. And it kind of really clicked with me. And I'd found a guy who was like me, but worse off. He was a Royal Engineer. He was a soldier that used to run things, carry things, drive things, shoot things. He was in a wheelchair for 10 years. He couldn't be a dad, he couldn't be a husband, and he couldn't be a man anymore. And I kind of really connected with that. And I was thankful that I didn't have to worry about that, but I could connect with it. And then on that night, that was the reason why I do what I do now. His name is Bill, and he's amazing. He proved to me the theory that I have, my little theory, which goes this far. And his journey just went, the screen's not big enough. Because I saw this man when he was beaten, and I saw him when he was trying, and I saw him when he was achieving. And then when I saw him when he was winning, and I saw him in his magnificence. And that was because of what we do. And he's been sailing with us twice since. And he's a changed man. He infects other people with this enthusiasm, this verve, or whatever you want to call it, because he's realized that the fear was killing him. He's realized that the perspective, which was exactly the same as mine, but just magnified hugely, because the physicality of him was so much more restricted than me. And the fear is no longer as relevant, I suppose.
I can imagine that this is not only just affecting those that suffer with MS, but as well their family members and friends as well, because that permeates throughout every person that you touch. So the joy that he got, and the learning and the greatness and the wonder that he experienced, I am sure that that carries out throughout his entire family and those that he comes into contact with.
Absolutely. The first thing is, it gives them a break for a week. Second thing is, they have this person who comes back going, what can I do? It might be less than that, or it might be more than that. It might last 10 minutes. It might last a week. It might last a year. But their perspective has changed, and the family has been given a break, and it gives the person themselves a break from feeling, reliant on their family, the burden that they are on their family. They're actually on the boat, there's 6 other people or 8 other people like them who are feeling exactly the same. And that's a complete reversal, because they're now doing stuff for other people on the boat. They are now giving. They are now contributing. They are now leading. When before, they were relying, and they were taking, and they were needing. Like I said, whether it lasts for 5 minutes or 5 years, it doesn't matter. They've had the opportunity to see it again and grasp it and own it. And I always use this term, they have given themselves the right to be magnificent. And if that's all that happens, they have won.
It sounds like they're actually finding themselves again. The piece that was lost is now found.
Who knows?
It's
Who knows?
amazing. Tell me how you became involved with the New Zealand Sailing Trust, because from what I understand, there wasn't anybody doing this in New Zealand, and you had a wonderful visitor from over there that came to visit you in Croatia.
Yes. So big up to Paul, big up to Evelyn. Hope you're getting better, Paul. Um, so we had a wonderful girl called Ingrid come over from Christchurch in New Zealand to our event, our Oceans of Hope Challenge in Croatia in 2017. And we chatted through the week, and I always wanted to expand, because this is my little baby now, this Oceans of Hope Challenge. I always wanted to give it to more people, give it to make it as affordable and as flexible and accessible to as many people as possible. And through Ingrid, we got exposed to the MS community in New Zealand and not so much, but Australia. And over the last 3 years, we've really been embraced by those two communities. We've done 2 Oceans of Hope challenges in New Zealand. One are previous to Steinlager and Lion New Zealand, which was on Spirit Adventure, which was an organisation that owns the boat Spirit of New Zealand. So all the Kiwis out there know that boat. Our second year was with New Zealand Sailing Trust. Evelyn and Paul were fantastic, and they embraced us and our ideology very, very well, because they do a similar thing but with school kids, that it gives them an opportunity to form new skills, leadership skills, learning skills, and just ways of approaching problems, as well as making this massive world-beating boat go as fast as possible through the water. They were very active in embracing my story and sort of fixing it to the way that they work. And we had an amazing week last December in Auckland on Steinlager 2 and Lion New Zealand, 2 world-beating sailing boats. And as a keen sailor, it's like me getting my hands on Ayrton Senna's Formula One car. Having my hands on Steinlager 2 for an hour or so was so joyous. And New Zealand Sailing Trust gave us, Oceans of Hope Challenge and Oceans of Hope UK, the opportunity. If I felt like that, we had another 38 people on board. And people's stories like Bill's story were happening every single second of every single day, whether we were chopping onions or we had the spinnaker up. There were so many different people on so many different journeys that Steinlager and Lion were just perfect forums for us to achieve that magnificence.
Let me ask you a question. You know, there's something about the sailing community that fascinates me. I'm not a sailor. I get seasick, so I don't even go out in boats. But there is the sailing community is such a very strong community. It's not to say that the motor yacht community isn't great, but there's such a passion that shines out. And when you see communities like yours come together and the New Zealand Sailing Trust come together to do for those that are less advantaged, for some reason, or have, like the MS Society, it brings them back. But something about a sailing boat, it gives them, it gives people in general such a brightness, such a passion, such an excitement. What is that?
First off, it doesn't happen all the time. We all know that if the weather is atrocious and you have to get somewhere by 6 o'clock tomorrow morning, there's not much fun in that. But the fun is you're out there, you're doing your best, and you've got a particular machine that you know its limitations, and you know it's general performance. And for a team to get that, to understand it and work with that to achieve an A to B journey, or whether just a bimble round for a weekend to fly the spinnaker and get that speed out of it for 10 minutes or whatever, it's a brilliant thing to do. I mean, I play other sports and there are similar parallels with other sports, but you know, my other sports are solo sports. So to have that opportunity with a group of people on one of these machines to achieve magnificence, I know I've used it quite a lot. It's great, and you move that boat through the water together to sort of get the most out of it. And yachting, any kind of water sports, to be honest, it's a great leveler. You know, somebody with a Perini Navi next to you, and you've got a Swan, or you've got a day sailor, a motor sailor. Everybody says, "Oh, this is how I do it," and everybody wants to help each other. However many zeros you've got at the end of your boat, kind of generally helpful and supportive, and you kind of get that. You really appreciate that in the worst case scenarios when someone's in trouble. You get that. And that's the general rule of thumb, I think, for me, is like when people are in trouble, other people sacrifice themselves to help. And fair enough, you get some that put it on videos on YouTube and criticize it, but there's usually one person videoing, but there's 10 people trying to help. And I think that's humanity, or the sailing fraternity, family. We all love it. We all want to spend more time doing it. And I think it is what it is. We all know, all the listeners, all the viewers, we all know what it is, and we all celebrate it. And this year, we've not had any chance to celebrate it. And I think that's what makes maybe next year even more exciting, is that everybody's going to try and be more competitive, more friendly, more challenging to themselves. And I'm quite looking forward to it. And it's happening already in England, but people have not had a chance to do any of the big races or anything like this. And I just think I'm talking far too much, Ria, but it's so brilliant that I'm still here.
Well, you know what, I think the answer to that question really was summed up in the one word, was family. You create a family. And I think that, you know, sometimes that's exactly what you need. A love for one another, a love for what you do, coming together to create an experience of a lifetime. You know what? No matter whether you have a disease or whether you have an issue at home or it's taking you out of an inner city, the pure freedom and joy of creating that family that you choose to create can give you, like you said, maybe the 5 minutes, maybe the week, maybe the month, maybe a year worth of hope. And I think that's absolutely amazing. For the future, what are you guys going to be doing with the New Zealand Sailing Trust? What are your sort of goals and aspirations coming into the next few years?
Hope is the important word.
Yes.
We're hoping. But every time we go sailing, we are all about hope. What we're planning with New Zealand Sailing Trust at the moment is we are going sailing again on Steinlager 2 next year,
Okay.
out of Auckland. We have opened up bookings for that, and we've got people applying. That will be in April.
How can people apply for that?
Send me an email.
Okay. We'll provide the email details below the interview when it airs.
Oceans of Hope Challenge NZ@gmail.com. Basically, we are looking for people with MS of all abilities, all experiences, all genders, all ages, to come and have an opportunity to grasp that hope again, to realize that being part of a community, pushing yourself and sort of going outside of your comfort zone really alters your own perspective on this stupid disease, which will then help the perspective of people around you. And I know it sounds crap, but it makes everything a lot better. Whether it's up here or in there, you realize that things are still worth doing. The fear no longer cripples you, and you should just try and push yourself. It may be tiring, it may be painful, it may be uncomfortable, but in the end, it's a piece of you. Like you said earlier, it's a piece of you that you get a chance to hold on to for a while again.
Well, Robert, I wish you the best of luck, and I am so glad to see you are doing well at this stage, 12 years after your diagnosis. And I'm glad that you found yourself back in 2014 and sort of reclaimed yourself, as it were, because as a result of that, you've gone on to help many, many people. And that is something to pat yourself on the back for, I think.
Thank you.
Once again, you've been watching Robert Munns of Oceans of Hope. We'll provide all of the information if you want to be supportive of any way, as well as the New Zealand Sailing Foundation out of New Zealand. We'll provide their information as well, because you know what? These organizations, I think, are extremely important to many people. And even those people that have never sailed before in their lives, these organizations give them a chance to get out on the water, to learn what it's like to be free, and to learn what it's like to work as a team and to have hope, as Robert so nicely put it. Thank you again for watching another edition of Yacht Crew Vlog. Sorry, Robert, is there something you wanted to say?
I would love to put out something to
Yes.
everybody. But just something that you've just said has just made me think. Next Tuesday, so that's the 8th of September, down at Brighton in England, Brighton Marina, we've got 4 of the owners of 4 of the race boats down at Brighton Marina. They're taking out 16 people due to coronavirus, social distancing. It's 4 people per boat. So we're taking people sailing for a day sail. We're going to have some lunch, and we're going to go sailing, and then come back. I really want to put this out there because I've kind of lost hope a bit because of this. And what I really want is people with boats, wherever you are, to give me a call. Because wherever you are, your country, whether it's Spain, where Rhea is, or whether it's in Holland or America or wherever, or in England, we're restricted by where we can fly these days. Everybody is. But we're not restricted by, say there's somebody in Palma who's got a boat and it's free for a week. You've got a captain that you're paying him or her for a week. Give some other people the opportunity to use your boat and to try and get back some of their hope. Because through this stupid disease, through this stupid coronavirus, everybody is screwed up. Everybody is not able to do what they want to do. But I'm just trying to find ways of giving people a chance to achieve their own magnificence again. What we need is boats. And if you've got a boat anywhere and you want to give it to some people for a day or a weekend, please, please, please send me an email. I'll get straight back to you. And I'll try and organise some local people with MS to come with you or your crew to go sailing. And I'd really appreciate it. We are completely volunteer based and we do all this for nothing, only to get the reward of seeing other people like me achieving brilliance and magnificence again. And this could be your opportunity to do that for yourself as well as the people that come on your boat. So please, if you're not going to do anything else this summer, send me an email, say you've got a boat next weekend, and I'll try my best to get some people down to your boat with MS, and you can have a whale of a time and really appreciate what struggle is.
Well, and to be absolutely honest, sometimes the things that make you feel the best in life are those that you do for others.
Hear, hear.
Thank you, Robert. Once again, you've been watching another edition of Yacht Crew Vlogs right here in Yachting International Radio. My name is Ria. I have been your host. Tune in again for another episode.